Okay, so as Dave just explained, go for it.
Okay, here you've got the wire tension adjuster, and again, in order to remove this guide wheel and put a new roll of wire through, this just flips up, this swings out the way, this pulls out quite simply. Again, there you've got 0.8 and you've got 0.6, depending on which wire gauge you're using, depends on which way round you put this.
Because they've got very different size screws, obviously.
Yeah.
Because of different size.
And this is the motor here, this is the motor drive that turns, grips the wire and pulls it through the tube up to the gun. So again, if this isn't set up right, you can see the difference in the grooves between 0.8 and 0.6. It's quite considerable. Obviously, the heavier the gauge the steel, the heavier the gauge the wire you use. The thinner the metal, you're always better off using thinner wire, because again, you haven't got to put as much power through it in order to get it to melt and create the pool of molten metal. When we pull the trigger, we get a nice, smooth, even flow of wire coming out the end of the gun. Because if your wire speed is too high, you'll end up with mounds of weld. If your wire speed is too low, you'll end up with a very flat weld with very little material in it. So again, wire speed is just as important as setting up your power settings. Spend the time, get some similar gauge metal to what you're going to be welding when you weld the panel on the car.
In this case, we've used the sill I took off in the last video.
We've butchered the sill.
We had butchered it slightly, but we're going to replace it
anyway. The welding is horrific because, again, we're using way too heavy gauge wire. But this is a classic case of too much power, not enough wire speed. We have put some material down and we have penetrated the metal, but
this is why you practice. This is why practice, as you say, practice does definitely make perfect. Don't go straight for your car.
No, do not. One thing I will say is, after years of experience in the motor industry, take your time. If you've got time, most hobby mechanics, again, it's a hobby, you're not doing it for a customer, you're doing it for your own vehicle. Spend the time, practice. When you're not working on your car, grab some pieces of scrap steel from somewhere, practice your welding. There's no substitute when it comes to welding and it comes to restoring, whether it be your Fiat 500 or whether it be your Series 3 Land Rover.
It's coming up, guys. It's coming up in future videos.
You get the result you put in. So the more you practice, the more you prep. Nice clean metal, good earth. Spend the time setting the welder up. You'll get a good result.
Okay, before we do any more welding, we just wanted to talk about health and safety gear. I know I joked about it in the last video, but when it comes to welding, you really can't mess around. So I've got the apron, I've got gauntlets, we've got the electric mask, and now Dave's going to speak about why you need this.
Welding emits extreme ultraviolet light. Effectively, it's like standing with your face in direct sunlight for 11 to 12 hours. It will happen over a period of roughly 10 to 15 minutes. You'll know because your face will burn. It will feel like you've been out in the sun all day with no sunscreen. The gear that they sell, it's there for a reason. Again, Neil wearing the apron. Welding spatter.
Not only does it look fetching,
It's a very fetching colour. I mean, he's rocking the shorts and the apron.
Don't underestimate, you see.
But you can't put a price on
good set of gloves.
Good set of gloves. Good set of gauntlets. Don't weld in a t-shirt like I have been, because these gauntlets will come up so far. There's exposed skin there. A blob of hot molten welding wire will burn onto the skin, and it will continue to burn until it cools down. And it can take quite a while, especially if it drops down the back of your neck, through your trainer, into your trousers, and believe me, the last thing you want is molten welding wire around your family jewels. It's not pleasant. Happened to me numerous times, allegedly flame-proof overalls, and the welding wire's gone straight through them. All of a sudden you get this burning sensation where you really don't want it. Again, if you're going to weld, pair of overalls, good set of gauntlets, keep your sleeves down, as minimal exposed skin as possible.
But the other thing with these, I mean, they're not even expensive. I mean, these gloves I think were about £15. The welding helmet, which is, you know, it's got a grind setting, it's electric. I think that was about 20 quid, maybe even a bit less. This was about £12. So I mean, it's not a lot of money for fundamentally protecting yourself from some serious burns.
I mean, if you work in the commercial sector, health and safety and PPE is provided for you. At home, on your driveway, you're responsible for it. And my phone's ringing.
See, this is real, this is live. Anyway, so as we're saying, I know we all laugh about health and safety, but if you're sat in an A&E waiting room, it's not funny then.
Be
anyway,
safe, kids.
Be safe. This is a Brassic Classic health and safety walk. Okay, so while we're here, we thought we'd just test the welder out on some 3mm box section that I had spare when I was doing the VWT25 seats, and we're just going to see how this welder does with a thick gauge. So yeah, over to Dave. So look.
It's not too bad. It's not great, but it's not great. It's not too bad.
So how's the welder performed on the thicker steel?
On the thicker steel, it's allowed me to A, do a continuous run, albeit takes a little bit of getting used to. And again, it will need some more setting up for the thicker gauge steel. But again, we've now managed to sort of do a more continuous run, albeit not great, because again, it's gasless. And you can see from where we've done a continuous run, we've got quite a lot of slag round the end of the tip. But again, just give it a good knock and it all falls out.
So Dave's just done the second phase of the weld, and it's looking good, Dave.
It's not looking too bad actually. For gasless, it's actually not looking too shabby.
Nice and even. Good
yeah.
pulls.
Experience.
There's no
many years of
it.
getting it wrong, grinding it back and starting again. But yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Again, for the thinner stuff, if we were to put some 0.6 in it, I think you'll be rocking with it.
Okay, so now it's my turn to have a go at welding this. One thing we have discovered with this is that this seems to be live all the time. So if I touch, see what I mean? It's live. I'm not touching the trigger. So I'm not sure if that's a fault with the gun.
Could just be a faulty switch in the gun.
Could just be a faulty switch.
Too close together.
But it's definitely something to note, because it's probably not that safe. Anyway, here we go. Wish me luck. Okay, so that's my weld. Let's bring the camera in so we can see how bad it is. Okay, so I've just done my practice welds. Dave's going to assess each weld individually. Oh yes, as
Assess.
the master.
Oh, I wouldn't say
So
master.
Dave's one is there. As you can see, he's got lovely rainbow arc. My first one is there, which looks like a blob. Second one. And I've got the arc by the third one. Dave?
Yeah. So that there is pretty much where you want to be heading.
My problem was speed. I was not moving fast enough.
You can see the difference between here. This is moving way too quickly. This is again started out quite well and then felt the urge to race.
Yeah.
This one here is about the right sort of speed and then it slowed up a little bit, which allowed the metal to pull. Yeah. Which again isn't a problem, it just depends how tidy you want the weld to look. This weld down here,
final weld here,
is for somebody who only sort of put his finger on the trigger about an hour ago. That's not a bad weld. But with a bit more practice and knowing how to analyse the weld, I'm no master welder. There are far better than me, but I know the difference between a weld that's gone too fast and a weld that is about the right speed.
So there's my best weld.
Here's Dave's. I think I'm on the right one.
That one.
Down
there.
a bit, sorry, down a bit. There you go. See, I mean, not worlds apart. Worlds apart.
Worlds apart again.
Love it.
It's that Brassic Classics banter
You
again.
better believe it. So what we've discovered is fundamentally it's all about practice and knowledge of thickness of metals against heat and the amount of power you put through. You don't want to blast through it, but equally you need to get a penetrating weld in order to have any strength. So Dave, our next piece to camera is going to be discussing what panels are coming off and planning that. Okay, right. So we've planned what panels we're going to replace and how far we're going to go with it. Come on in, Dave. Come on in. So
We're going to cut it up.
Well, I had two choices. I could either, as Dave said to me, what do you want to do? Do you want to make this a mint restoration, or do you just want to get it running and driving? And for me, having gone as far as I have, I want it to be mint. I want it to be done properly. Obviously, I'm documenting this and filming it. This car will eventually be sold. I've got far too many projects I want to do. And yeah, it's all good. I'll get some enjoyment out of it. I'm sure me and Sophia will probably travel somewhere in it and enjoy it. And then it'll be time to move it on. So, I'm going to flip around the other side now, without blocking Dave. So Dave, having discussed it, we've gone with this option.
We've gone with the option of
New rear quarter panels both sides,
new front wings.
because they're just rubbish.
Again, I gave Neil the option of do you want to do a make good repair, make the car structurally sound and safe to sort of drive on the road, or do you want to really go to town with it and make it something that he can sell on, knowing that the vehicle's safe, knowing that it's been done properly.
Well, that's one of the main things, because I mean, obviously, whoever did this sill and pop riveted it on had no concern for the next person that's going to own it and drive it. I mean, I'm not trying to say that it kind of is deadly. I mean, that would have folded up like paper. What I'm not saying is that the Fiat 500 is a safe car. The fuel tank's right in front of you. I mean, it is what it is. But you can certainly limit the amount of danger by not selling a car that is fundamentally
Rotten.
completely rotten. I mean, look at it. And for me personally, I'd rather do it properly and know that I've done it properly. I've preserved the car. The next person that has it is going to have a car that's going to be good for 25 years and is as safe as it can be. Dave.
Yeah, I've just pulled that off of what's left of the rear quarter panel.
Honestly, you invite people round, you give them coffee, and they start
I know, and I start ripping rotten bits of metal off of his car. It's brilliant.
outrageous. That is a Brassic Classics first. Outrage. I'm going to start calling you Outrageous Dave.
But on the other hand, what it does also display is how easily that piece of metal came off.
Yeah, it's a bit worrying, really.
It's incredibly worrying that somebody has just pot riveted. And they've gone to the trouble of buying a replacement sill panel and holding it on with pot rivets. Pot rivets have a purpose in the world, but it is certainly not
structural.
to hold.
Yeah.
I mean, there is material still here, but you can see how thin this inner sill is. It's a bodge, and unfortunately, there's people in the world that are quite happy to bodge cars and sell them on to somebody as, oh yeah, it's mint, it's it's totally original. It's not.
No.
And the world is full of them. eBay has made that world even larger for them because now they've got a much wider scope that they can sell their death traps to.
I mean, this in photographs looked great. When I had it, it looked good, up to about 4 or 5 feet away, and then anyone with a basic knowledge of cars and what they should look like done properly, it started to look a little bit iffy. I mean, I still bought it because it was cheap and I like a bargain, but yeah, it's going to be done properly because, well,
it's not going to be a very entertaining series if it's basically me bodging a Fiat 500, is it?
And let's be honest, you wouldn't want to publicise on YouTube bodging a car that you are potentially going to try and sell on to somebody else.
That's a good point. Yeah, but anyway, we don't bodge here on Brassic Classics.
No.
We do things properly, which is why there'll probably be hundreds of episodes of this Fiat 500 restoration, because there's a lot to do.
It's going to have more episodes than Game of Thrones.
Hopefully it's going to have a better end. Final result, anyway. I can't guarantee it. So yeah, what we decided is both rear quarter panels. It is possible to get replacement arch sections, but the driver's side one it's got ripples and dents in it, and I don't really want to have to be doing lots of a filler job on it really. Obviously everything under your skim, that's normal, but if I can get it as good as I can with a new panel, I'd rather do that. Both seals, they're going to have to be done. Possibly the inner seals, but they might be plateable, don't know yet. Both front wings they're going, because as we saw in video 2, they're garbage. So there you go. Thanks for watching. This is episode 4 of the classic Fiat 500 restoration. Big thanks to Dave for coming down. You'll be seeing more Dave, because hopefully the next video we'll be cutting out these panels and using the spot weld drill to remove the spot welds to be able to prise them off. And yeah, we shall see what we've got then. Anyway, this is Brassic Classics. Thanks very much for watching. Like, share and subscribe. This is Dave. I'm Neil. And we shall see you next time. Goodbye.